it's a lot of online. Our business and our world has changed so much with the internet, and it's changed everyone's perspective and how even our business works. And so one of the things I want to talk to you about today, because I think it's pertinent that a lot of us in our age bracket are either downsizing or dealing with estates, or what do we do with all of this stuff, you know? And I get this a lot from people, and they start panicking because what am I going to do? I've lived in this home for 30 years, and what am I going to do with all of this stuff, and how do we deal with it, and what's the best way of dealing with it? And so when I'm talking to a client that I go out to their home, the first thing I tell them to do is you need to calm down and not worry about it. You need to figure out what you want to gift, what your kids want, which is going to be a lot less than you anticipated, because what your parents collected, your kids don't want anymore. Our lives have changed so much. And but figure out what your family wants, what you're going to gift and donate, and then where are you going to end up and what are you keeping. Deal with all of that. The rest you can get help to deal with in figuring it out on what to do. And so in our business, where we'll come in and help people, either an on-site sale or maybe it needs to be handled through the internet. I do hear this a lot from people. Oh, thank you, Matt. I get up here and just, it's such a beautiful subject, it just chokes me up just talking about it. And so, we are a very wealthy society. We have a lot of wonderful things. We're the wealthiest society that's ever been in the history of humankind, and it's being passed on to our kids, so we get concerned. And you get to see shows like the Antiques Roadshow, and you find some item that the person thought was nothing, and you find out it was worth huge money. And so I think a lot of us are afraid that that's what's going to happen to us this time. And this is where the internet and now currently with AI, that we're going to be running me out of business, I think, at some point, where we can find out what things are worth. But one of the things I'm consistently finding out is that with the young people, our world has changed, and they don't want a lot of things, or they don't want the china and the crystal and the linens and all of that. And I think it's for a couple of reasons. One is that we've become a much more casual world. Setting formal tables doesn't happen like it used to, and certainly as the younger generation comes, it's led by dress and by entertaining and whatnot. Everything is less formal. The other thing that happened is the internet came along. And so for people who, of our generation, the boomers, we loved collecting. And there was this collector mania 30, 40 years ago. Everyone was collecting everything. And it was fun. And the fun of collecting was the hunt. If you wanted to buy something, you had to go out to antique stores, you had to go to flea markets, estate sales, to ferret out that piece that you're looking for. And when you find that last piece, the finding of it gave such a big thrill that eclipsed even the owning of it. The hunt was more fun than the actual owning of the stuff. And now you can click on a mouse and put together a collection really quick, and that's not nearly the kind of fun. And so I told this to a client one time, that the hunt is much more fun than the owning, and she says, oh, so it's just like marriage. You know, so I said, well, I guess so. And so, what do you do? When I have people ask me, well, what are things worth? It's such a broad topic, and then you take any one sub part of it, you can get in deeper and deeper and deeper. And so, with the internet, we have a lot of chance for a lot more research than anyone ever did before on finding out what it is, and then opening up and offering it to a worldwide audience. But I think there's a few things when it comes to looking at what can be valuable that you might miss out on. What I end up finding is there's a few things that, if you're sorting someone's home, is the jewelry. Now you think, well, that seems obvious, but oftentimes it's not. I had a house we went to one time, and the lady, she needed help with the antique furniture pricing if they're going to have their own estate sale. But all the good jewelry was in the safety deposit boxes. Costume jewelry, they had a sign on that said, your choice, $3 each. It hadn't had the sale yet, I was there ahead of time. And I said, well, I'll look through that really quick. And she, oh, no, all the good stuff's there. And I said, well, I'm here. And we pulled out a diamond tennis bracelet, a Rolex wristwatch, and a very large, heavy gold medallion. And I have a friend of mine who's in the business. She's out every weekend, and she tells me at the end of every year, because she keeps track of everything meticulously, she made $22,000 last year on scrap gold that she found, buying it for $1, $2, and $3 out of at estate sales and garage sales. We sold a beautiful platinum, diamond, and mauve pearl ring for her. She got in a little Ziploc bag for $2. So when you're dealing with that, you want to take a minute, and there's a number of people like us. You can find a lot of different dealers. You could pay them a little bit of money. They'll help you sort it out. And when they come to us, what we would do is separate. This is your good jewelry that's sellable. This is gold, silver, whatever that is not sellable. It might be broken or just completely out of style. This is your good costume jewelry, and this is the stuff you let the grandkids play with. And then you can kind of make a decision, and it's clear-headed. And it's worth paying somebody a little bit of money to sort that out for you. That's one of the things people you need to be aware of when you're downsizing. People get all excited about books is another one where you could possibly lose some money on, and yet it's a fairly easy thing to research. When people call me and they say, I've got to help with my dad's house, he has a lot of books. My first question is, does he have a book collection? Meaning, do he want every book there ever was on mushroom collecting? And I actually had a client who had over 75, no, not 75, he had about 150 books, and it was all about mushrooms. That was his passion. So if you get somebody who is a collector, and they have a subject that they're collecting, chances are you have quite a bit of money. Or were they the sort of people who like to read? And so they would go and buy used books, read them, and then put them on the shelf. And they end up with 1 million books. And on those, most of those, what you have to do is shake them, and hopefully there's money in them, and then move them on down the line. But if you have some books and you want to research them, it's really easy to do. There's a couple websites, and I can help you with this later, but called ABE Books, like Abe Lincoln Books, or A Libris Books, are two websites that people who have booksellers in the English-speaking world put all their inventories online, and so then you can really see where the rubber hits the road, and that's what they're asking for it. And always throw out the most valuable one and the least valuable one, because they're notorious for having somebody who has one, so they put it out for $2,000, and then the next one's $500, and then the next one's $475 and such. Well, they have the really expensive one, and they have a less expensive one to make theirs look really like a good deal. So, and then every now and then somebody needs the $2,500 one only because they want the best one. So there's that to work with. Artwork and family legends is another thing you want to work with. The two other things I want to talk about. Artwork you can also should be double checked into to see what you have. Because sometimes people think, oh, I got this painting and the artist is now dead, it's worth a lot more. That's not necessarily true, or it might be true. It depends on if anybody is really promoting that artist after they died. And so that's another person that we have a website where you can send in a photo and we'll kick back whether or not you really need to have an appraisal on that artist or give you quick information about that artist. Is one of the places that you can go to. And again, the internet is a great wealth of information. There's a number of websites that you can use that you can pay for a month. So if you're dealing with an estate, and it's worth paying $50 or $25 for the month, and then you can ask the questions that you need to get done for your downsizing that way.
This is a vase that my mother was an English war bride, and our doctor was German, came to this country before the persecutions, and they were like family to us. His wife we called Auntie Annie. So Auntie Annie gave this to my mother, and it was in our home as far back as I can remember, probably about the time I was 6 years old. And a few years ago, before when my mother I wasn't seeing her as often, and she was thinking about how things need to be passed on. She said, now this was given to me by Auntie Annie, and it's from a well-known artist. So I never knew that. I just thought it was a pretty piece that sat in the house, and I loved it. So I brought it to him. I thought it was an American Gary says that it comes from Poole, England, which could be why Auntie Annie bought it for my mother, because it was English and my mother was English. But I have no idea.
Always like no ideas, because no matter what I say, it's the truth. Yeah, we did. I saw this before, and it's two things I wanted to say about it. Poole is the company that made it. It's an English pottery company. Now, Poole makes everyday dishes, and they make limited editions and some very high-end sorts of things. This particular piece dates to about 1920, 1925, Art Deco design. And I did one of the things when you see the Antiques Roadshow, and you see they do these kind of things there. I've been an appraiser on the Antiques Roadshow, and one of the things they'll do is give this talk, and this guy's a genius. They don't tell you that it's television, and they've been researching it for the last 2 hours and have every expert in the world on speed dial. So when they get to talk like this, it's like, oh. So I don't want to take credit that I knew this off the top of my head. Although I did get the Poole England off the bottom of it when I turned it over and looked at it, which is always a good way of showing how smart I am. Anyway, so this particular vase, when I looked it up, they have it. I've seen two different people have the same vase for sale, one for $350 and one for $500. One of the things that's happening that's going to put me out of business with AI, and this is something else, I'll let you hold that, is and I had to give up my cameras, and if you want me to demonstrate this for you afterwards, I will. If you go to Google, the Google site, and hit the search, and then hit the camera, you can look at it, take a picture of it with your camera, and it'll pop up all kinds of them that are for sale around the world. So if you're at home and are dealing with is this anything? I resisted using it. My staff kept telling me, oh, this is really great. And I go, that's cheating. And then I go, I don't know who I'm cheating, and I'm trying to live in this world that no, I have to be there. But that really helps you. It's a quick way, and it's not perfect. For something like this, it works really well. It also has a translation where you can take pictures of, and I'll get a picture like of a Japanese woodblock print. Did a whole bunch of Japanese woodblock prints simply using that, and then got the title and the artist right off the front of it as it translated it all for me. So that's fun.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, $300 to $500 range. I put that.
I'm selling it, but thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know anything about it really, but I didn't have anything that I thought was even worth bringing, so I asked my daughter-in-law, and this was her grandmother's. And my daughter-in-law's mother is 90 years old, and she said she knows the doll is older than her because it belonged to her mother-in-law, and for some reason she thinks the hair was replaced, and that's all I know.
One of the things about, I tend to know more about dolls than a man my size probably should, but when you're looking at the old porcelain German head dolls, if you pull her hair up, and on the back of her neck is the information you want. So if you have a doll, that's where she's marked, and that one was, yeah, and she has and changing the wig out after 125 years is not an unusual thing to do. Usually it needs to be done. Yeah, so it has AM-370, and that stands for Armand Marseille, which sounds French, but she's actually German. And they made a lot of dolls, Armand Marseille did, and in all kinds of sizes. And so this one has a leather body, fully jointed leather body, and then the head is porcelain. And of course, I saw she has the wig, which has been replaced, but that's fine. I mean, it's a great wig. They did a great job, and it's an appropriate one. The dress is new and appropriate as well. So she's had some work done to her, but anybody who's 125 years probably has had some work done to them. If you're looking at your dolls, if you have a porcelain head or have someone's like that, one of the 80% of the value is in the head, because the bodies are interchangeable. And so you can find one that's broken and have the body if you need to, restore a doll. But if the head is cracked, it kind of kills. And like I used to tell everybody, no one plays with crackheads. So, and so she says, the doll market crashed in about 2008 with the real estate market. And so the ladies who collected them, loved them. There was a time that a person would stick an ice pick in your neck to get the doll, And I would have said in the year 2000, I would have said the doll was worth about $800 to $1,200. She's now worth in the $400 to $600 range. It's a subject. Dolls is a subject that the market, especially these kind of dolls, because the issue is the young people coming up, people now in 30s and 20s, 30s, 40s. They only saw these dolls in horror films as they came to life to murder. Same with clowns. Clowns come to life and murder you. And so no one wants to collect clowns anymore either. So even P.T. Barnum is going back, or the Barnum and Bailey Circus is starting up again, and they don't have clowns. They have rodeo guys that do funny looking things out there, but to make them laugh. But no one's in clown face because it scares children. Yeah, so it's a fun piece.
I'm sure the ladies can hear me. In 1950, when I was 9 years old, I had my first Holy Communion, and my grandmother Teresa, whose middle name I bear, she handed me with tears in her eyes this golden cross that at that time had been in her family for 100 years. On my cell phone, I have her wedding picture from 1900 where she's wearing the very same cross. The clasp is some connecting hands, also gold. The necklace is woven human hair.
Oh.
I cannot tell you any more details, but you can figure out that this piece is about 173 years old. I am not so much interested in the monetary value, but you can imagine how precious this is to me, being an immigrant, and it's something from the old country, from my family. And what makes my grandmother so outstanding, she was actually a peasant woman who grew 2 acres together with Grandpa, and during the war they fed thousands of people who were wandering from the east in their kitchen. And I watched it as a child. Every day people would knock at the door. They were hungry, and if Grandma didn't have food ready, she would get out her frying pan and said, "Come on in, sit down." And they would have 2 hogs at all times, and a cow and a sheep and a goat, and she fed strangers. And that was the impression I had as a child. And here I am, 83 years old, and her charity has never left me.
Oh.
And I just wanted to share this with you.
It's a great story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good story. It's a hard act to follow. They've been making crosses for a lot of years, almost 2,000 years. And what's interesting more than the cross, although it's a beautiful cross, is the woven hair.
Yeah.
We all kind of have that creepy feeling, because it's not part of our culture now. But in the 19th century, it was a keepsake. You would keep your hair, or if you had your haircut, they would weave it, and you would find hair lockets inside a lock of hair along with your loved one's photograph, or paint. Before photography, it'd be a little painting of it, and you'd have a lock of hair. But you'll also find very elaborate, like floral arrangements made out of everyone in the family's hair. That's why I was wondering if she knew whose hair that originally was. In all likelihood, it's not something you went and bought. It was something either you made or you had made. And so it's probably her multiple great-grandmother's hair that they've woven this long, thin strand out of. And that makes it a lot more personal.
Could they do DNA on that and find out?
I would possibly.
So I wouldn't give it to any stranger.
I don't know if it could narrow down exactly which person. It probably kind of direct which part of the family it came from, but she already kind of has that information. And so I'll see, you'll find, and there's people who collect just hair jewelry. You'll find bracelets, necklaces, keychains, or the pocket watch chains. And that's not keychain, pocket watch chains, what I'm after. Made out of hair jewelry. And it's actually quite an amazing connection to keep people connected to other generations, provided we would know who it was. But I would bet considerable money that's a multiple great grandmother's hair. This is called a chatelaine, which comes from the French word meaning woman of the castle. And these were popular started in the 1600s up through the almost to World War I, and then they quit wearing them. And what they are is they would hook onto your belt, because ladies' clothes didn't have pockets. And so they would have it on there and have their necessities. And here we have somebody who did sewing. There's a little, this here that looks like a book is actually a pin cushion. You have your scissors here, and you have a thimble, and then you have a pencil that'll slide out of there. There's no pencil in it right now, but you would have a little pencil that would slide out. And then this thing here is little slips of ivory that you would write on. So you could be wearing that, and if you're going to be hemming someone's dress, you could have it there and have all the things you need on it. Other times it'll be house keys that they would have. They used to wear them formally, and they'd be made out of gold or silver, and you'd wear them. It was at one point fashionable to do that, and you would have your glasses, a fan, a few things like that, maybe a little coin purse on the end of it. They fell out of fashion because women went to work in the early 20th century, and they started carrying handbags. And so now you carry a purse, and you have no need for wearing it. But I think they're fun. This one is was probably originally silver plated, and it's going to date to about 1820. This one was worn around the neck, and it has a comb, and I think this was assembled because it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's comb and a glove hook and a few other accessories that went around your neck. That's a little newer. And then this one doesn't have anything on it yet, and it's new. And they're kind of come back, and who wants them are the kids who dress up as steampunk people. And they'll put all kinds of fun little tools on the end of their chains. And so they're kind of fun. So I just thought it was something I had never had in. It just came in, and I thought I'd come and do a little show and tell.